Hello there, and welcome back to the Disc Connected. This video is long overdue. This is going up the day after the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards have finally culminated. I have been putting so much of my time and effort into that show that it has taken almost everything out of me. Beyond that, myself and my family got pretty sick over the month of January, and I could barely form coherent sentences, and I wanted to make sure that I did Imprint Films justice. So now that I'm finally able to do this without deleting it 3 times like I have previously, let's talk about some Imprint Films releases. So first off, I definitely want to acknowledge the fact that Imprint had a couple delays at the end of 2022. Their October and November bundles came very late to my house. I think a lot of people had some issues with their Black Friday sale as well. That stuff was not delivered till, early February in some cases, which I get it. Stuff happens, production issues. We've all seen those over the last 3 years at this point. It's something that is almost regular compared to what we used to see. So yeah, completely understandable. Unfortunately, with those coming late, that means I was able to review these a little later than planned, and it went into the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards preparation time. So as good as I can, I'm going to run through these as fast as possible, give my feelings on some of these, and unfortunately, some of these are already out of print from the Imprint website, so if you're really wanting them, you're going to have to try to search for some of them. Hopefully some of these come back as standard editions with all the same disc content, because some of these are, some of the best disc content that Imprint has made in quite some time. Let's get into it. So first off, this is from the October bundle, and this is North Dallas 40. Unfortunately, this one is not one of my favorites. I'm not a huge sports movie type of person. There's a few that I love. I'll never get over Field of Dreams. It's still one of the best ever. But this one just doesn't hit me the right way. You might feel very different if it's something that you're super into, but yeah, not my favorite film itself. However, we've got some decent things on the disc itself. We got a new audio commentary by Daniel Kramer and screenwriter Daniel Waters with the film's director, Ted Kotcheff, and it's pretty good overall. The fact that we have 3 different voices coming through, it helps with this one. Definitely kept me interested. The introduction by the director that was added, it was very short, but it's nice to see him still acknowledging this film, considering this came out originally, more than 40 years ago. It's pretty impressive. Then we have a sort of director remember segment with, it's called Hit Me With Those Best Shots, and Ted Kotcheff just takes a look back at some of the parts of North Dallas 40. And then there is a video essay on this that is an analysis of the Ted Kotcheff vision. It was overall pretty good. So the commentary is the best part of this disc, in my opinion. It still wasn't really worth the time for me, but if it's your style of movie and you really love it, I bet you would absolutely love this commentary in this movie. I can completely see why some people would grow up loving this one, but again, just not for me. And next, you have Molly Maguires. This one is a little bit earlier of a film. This is from 1970. And this already is a huge step up from North Dallas 40 for me, and really shows how great of a month that Imprint put together for October, because I think the rest of these are basically must-own, whether it be for the film itself or for what's on the disc, and it's pretty great overall. So Molly Maguires is really interesting film that I've not seen a lot of films that deal with the type of mining situation that we were talking about here, and honestly, the film itself, it would be absolutely worth the purchase, in my opinion. I think the transfer for this looked pretty great overall. The way this was filmed could have caused a lot of problems for the restoration, but it looked really good considering they were filming in an actual coal mine for some of this. And there is some good on-disc content here. We got 2 commentaries, one by Howard S. Berger, one by the author and producer and film historian Daniel Kramer. They're both pretty good. I would say they're both about equal. I've heard better from both of them, but I really did enjoy the context of the film, especially in Howard S. Berger's. He did a really great job overall of explaining a lot of it. Unfortunately, then we get to the disc portion that I don't love, and that is there is a conversation with Anthony Zerbe, or Zerbe, not sure how you pronounce it, but he is an actor from this film, And the conversation, while it's nice, it is barely audible. It was a struggle just to get through it. It sounds like somebody recorded over Zoom, perhaps, but the audio sounds like it's just recorded from a phone sitting next to a computer speaker, which did not do well for the audio. And because I could barely hear it, I turned it up a lot, and it sounded like I could hear the person sitting at the computer that was having a conversation with the actor just breathing heavily. Yeah, not my favorite extra. It was a little distracting, a lot distracting, and I thought that they could have done better with that. But I got to admit, it is nice to hear from an actor that was in this film more than 50 years ago. That's still something that we don't get on a lot of these. And I love to see the people that were involved in these things still willing to discuss them. And honestly, it's still worth their time. It's a wonderful film. And again, the two commentaries on this, love the fact that we got all of these together on one disc. Really great set of extras. All right, getting right to the controversial, I think the next best thing to come out of the October bundle is Pretty Baby. Now, this is a movie from 1978 that is controversial in nature because there is some underage nudity in this. The part played by Brooke Shields does have a scene where she appears in a bathtub, and then there's another scene where she does appear nude. It's not great for those scenes. I completely understand that, but this Louis Malle film is one that has been talked about for a long time, and overall, it's honestly a really good movie. It is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It is certainly uncomfortable to watch, but there are, a lot of things surrounding this film that are worth your time to pick up the disc, and Kino Lorber is releasing this in the United States eventually. I'm hoping that a lot of the stuff that is on this disc shows up on that disc as well. So the extras on this are really great. First off, we have a little over a 20-minute interview with Brooke Shields, who, by the way, for her age, looks incredible, amazing. The uncomfortable parts in this should be uncomfortable, is one of the things that she's talking about. And she basically shared that she had a lot of bad experiences on the film and around that age that she faced. And it's just a really interesting conversation to see how she was affected at that age and how it has shaped her life overall. There is a visual essay by Daniel Kramer on this that's fairly long, good like 25 minutes. That is all about Louis Malle. If you don't know much about his filmography, it's a really great one overall. The transfer on this film, it does look very good, although it is a bit soft. And when you're looking at it, it does seem like it was meant to appear soft. With the soft transfer, it almost looks like Louis Malle meant to film this as sort of like a cloudy experience. Everything was a little bit soft around the edges, but again, not due to DNR or actual softening, just based on the sort of ethereal glow coming off every character. It's a really interesting looking film overall, but yeah, solid transfer, and it's one that I'm glad to have in the collection. I think it's really well made. So maybe the most important part of this release is that they got Kat Ellinger to do an audio commentary, and oh man, was she the absolute perfect person to do this commentary. She starts off the commentary by saying, like, listen, there's a controversial aspect. Let's get this out of the way right now. Let's talk about why it's here, why it's uncomfortable, why it should be uncomfortable, and then just goes through the entire movie. And when the nudity parts come up, she does explain, hey, this is about to happen. This is one of those moments, and explains why. Gives so many different pieces of context about the film. This is honestly one of Kat Ellinger's best commentaries ever, in my opinion. I'm very, very happy with how this came out. She did a great job in this release. And again, the movie itself it's hard for some people to watch, and obviously the aspects that are controversial are there, and that's, a big thing to try to push across, and I get that, but this release is solid and certainly one that is worth a pickup, in my opinion. And now we get to the film that really messed me up from the October bundle, and this is, in my opinion, the must-own from October from Imprint, Testament. So this movie, remarkable. Absolutely loved it. There is a very young Kevin Costner, which I always got to shout out Kevin Costner. Love him. The transfer on Testament is a bit soft, and it's also quite grainy, but honestly, that kind of fits the tone of the movie overall, and I'm really glad with how it looks. I am happy overall that this film still was able to last and appear the way that it does. It's a very solid film overall, one that I am probably going to be watching again very soon just to see if I get anything else out of it. But then we get to the real golden items on this disc, and that is the slew of extras that we get. One, we get a new audio commentary by Amanda Reyes, who is, of course, the TV movie expert. Overall, this commentary I thought was pretty good. It's not her best. She's done some that are very good. It sounds like maybe it was just a little bit of an off day for her, but still happy with it. Lots of great information. There is a new audio commentary by David J. Moore, who's an author of a book called World Gone Wild, A Survivor's Guide to Post-Apocalyptic Movies. And I really like this commentary. He referred to Testament as part of the domestic apocalypse subgenre. And yeah, I definitely see that. The way that it can affect like a neighborhood or a suburb. He goes into a lot of details about this one, sort of like the context of this and the post-apocalyptic genre overall. And it was a great, worthwhile listen, in my opinion. The other extras on this were fascinating to watch back in 2023. So first, we had a little bit of a retrospective. There is something called Testament at 20 that was filmed now 20 years ago, which was about a half-hour reunion interview documentary type special where it's an interesting watch. We get some key figures that were involved in the film looking back on making it. And again, it was 20 years ago. I would have loved to have seen another one comparing them looking back nowadays. Then the extras that were on top of all this, we have some really interesting featurettes on how Testament sits in culture, basically. There is another featurette on this called Testament Nuclear Thoughts, which, in my opinion, very harrowing to watch. This was about a lot of kids that were students in a school that watched the film, and then they got interviewed afterwards to give genuine reactions and feelings on what they, did they feel prepared at home? How did they think they could prepare? It was an interesting watch for sure, but that was also filtered in with some other pieces of information that might be very interesting to see. Like there was an interview with a survivor of the Hiroshima bombing. There was a lot of comparisons to atomic bombs, 9/11, terrorism, nuclear war, and everything all mixed in. It was a lot of great information that is terrifying, basically. So yeah, really solid disc on that front. And then there was a little like nuclear timeline that they included here. It basically looks like a little PowerPoint addendum. Not really anything new if you've ever paid attention to the idea of nukes, but it was an interesting thing to see included. That way you can give an educational context to how this type of thing could actually affect us. So after a lot of hits in October, November came and absolutely crushed me with how much I enjoyed these. I had never seen School Ties, and Imprint sent me this one for review, and it is a pretty great movie. And yet, out of the three that they sent me for November, this was the one that I enjoyed the least. And that says a lot about how good this month was for them. School Ties, very good story overall. Really loved the cast in this, as you'll hear some of the people that I'm about to talk about. It is pretty much everybody. The transfer on this looked very good for when it was made. This is from 1992, and it is it's a really great movie overall. Like I said, with some effective scenes. There's some dialogue that comes off as a little bit cringy in 2023, but what movie didn't back then? So completely understandable. The extras on this, there is some good stuff. There is a lot of interviews from around the time when the film was made. There's a Matt Damon interview that's about 5 minutes long that he starts talking about a lot of things that we've talked about in the last handful of years today. He was talking about, is it okay to have humor about ethnicities and people groups? And how do you share that type of information without coming across as perhaps problematic? There was a Brendan Fraser interview, which was 7 minutes and just shows how lovely of a person he's always been. He shared that he filmed this before Encino Man, yet this came out after Encino Man. And filming this made him feel more human. He took this movie because he felt so strongly about racial prejudice, and just an absolutely wonderful glimpse inside his mind back in the mid-90s, or back in the early 90s, really. And just absolutely great to watch. The producer on the film, Sherry Lansing, gave an interview that's a good 6-7 minutes long, and she said that the movie cost about $10 million to make, which for back then, that seems like a lot for this movie, I gotta be honest. But then she went into the fact that it took 9 years to make, so I'm sure that might have been a part of it. She also said that it was getting difficult to make a movie without a lead like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and looking at the indie scene nowadays, I don't think we could be any more different, but it was super interesting. I love the fact that she said it was almost impossible for a movie of any kind to lose money. Really ties in a lot of questions of, like the classic Hollywood accounting that we've heard a lot about. 2 more interviews on this one with Chris O'Donnell. Yes, Robin, Chris O'Donnell. This one, again, another good 7 minutes long. He spoke on some prejudice that he saw at his Jesuit school, and the fact that he was about to release Son of a Woman, which was, obviously a big deal. Then there is the director, Bob Mandel, who did an interview. He went on to say that this was a very personal story because he had witnessed some prejudice at his school as well. Good stuff overall. The amount of important aspects of this film truly outweigh the fact that we didn't get a lot of new extras. There is a new commentary on this by Jim Hemphill, and honestly, it's a bit too dry, maybe too like Wikipedia style for my taste. I usually want more information that is not, readily Googleable. It is one that I could see some people liking if they just want to put it on in the background and give it a listen to while they do some other things. But overall, I do think that we got a good disc here. I think it's a great film, and I'm glad it got a release. Then there is this behemoth. So City of God, simply put, this is one of the greatest films of all time. I have always loved City of God. It's based on a true story. It's very frenetic in nature. I absolutely love pretty much every single frame of this film. It is magnetic. It is important to watch. It is just a really, really strong feature. I absolutely love this movie, and the transfer looks pretty great overall. I will say it does have forced English subs. There is no way to turn them off. But for one of the greatest films of all time, I'll take that. There are 2 different archival features on here. There is about an hour-long documentary and then a short little featurette. Both of them I had seen years ago. They're both good, but nothing crazy new. However, just to get this film in HD, 100% worth it. 100% worth it. So from saying that last film is one of the best of all time to having a film after that shows how great, ladies and gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains truly is. This movie is something special. I've always loved this movie. The transfer on this looks really good overall. This is, I believe, the first HD release, and it is solid. Looks really, really fantastic. It's from 1982, so a good 40 years old. It's not something that looks too dated. It's pretty wonderful. For the extras, this disc is stacked. Let's start from the bad, and then we'll go to the very great after that. The bad thing. There's an audio commentary by the director, Lou Adler, on this. I did not like this commentary pretty much at all. He's basically watching the film and responding to things as they're happening, which in some situations I get the appeal behind that, just not something I love. But this one was like egregiously bad. At one point, there's a famous line in the movie where one of the characters says, "Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die." And after a moment, he just sits there and says, very philosophical. It does get a bit better than that throughout the film, but overall, this is the least captivating thing on this entire disc. There's a lot of other stuff to love, though. So there's an audio commentary by actresses Diane Lane and Laura Dern. It is super fun, very personal. There's a lot of like nostalgia for the ladies, and I just love that aspect. There's a brand new audio commentary that was done by Lee Gambin and musician and journalist Allison Wolfe. This thing is incredible. Lots of information, super engaging, and the way that they go back and forth, it doesn't ever get boring because they are just trading off segments to discuss, and it's so well made. Lee is somebody that is Lee could sell me on the worst movie. I love Lee's commentaries. Absolutely love this one. Then we had one of the best parts of this entire disc. Kat Ellinger did a video essay called "I Don't Put Out: Punk, Anger, and Ex-Feminism." So glad that Kat was able to do this. She was absolutely perfect to do this essay for this film. It's not a long essay, but it is so engaging, and you can tell very personal for her. It was absolutely wonderful. Just very happy that this was a part of the disc. Then they actually put on another video essay, this one by Sarah Marcus. This one is called "The Late Night Culture of the Fabulous Stains." It's a wonderful discussion overall. It's certainly engaging, one that I enjoyed, and it just continues to add to a wonderful package overall. There's an audio interview with an actress from the film, Maren Cantor. It was a little monotonous, possibly a little overly long, but still some good, fun background information. And then on top of all that, there's a new interview with actress Debbie Rochon on this, and it's a really fun video interview with Debbie. Lots of information on the film itself, super fun. It sounded like Lee Gambin was the one that was doing that interview. Just very well done. It looks like to me Lee was probably the main person behind this entire release, and if so, like producing this release is huge. I'm so glad that they were able to get this out. Imprint deserves so much love and attention for some of the films that they put out, this being one of them. Absolutely stupendous release, and everyone should be trying to track down a copy of this. This thing, it is a great film, but again, stacked extras, and I love almost every single moment that was put on this disc. It is so well made. Just bravo to Imprint. This thing is great. And final thing in this video from Imprint, a behemoth. This is the Avengers Series 4 and 5, the Emma Peel collection. Now, I myself personally, I'd never watched anything in the Avengers before I got this box set in from Imprint. And oh my gosh, it is charming. I will say right now, I did not get to watch every single thing on all of the discs in here. Because first off, this is a 16 disc collection, and there is so many bonus features on here. We have countless audio commentaries, countless shorts, countless interviews at the BFI, countless, just so many everything. I watched what I could to get a feeling of the overall release for this, and honestly, I get it. I get the charm behind this release. I get the charm behind the show itself. It is completely well made. Diana Rigg, stellar in this. She is absolutely wonderful. I got to admit, the main character here that you see on this side, Patrick McNee, he is kind of amazing. I really love the two of them together in this. It was such a unique spy show. I was very excited to see that Series 4 was in black and white, and then they transferred Series 5 into color. And I honestly, it appeared as if they were making it to be beautiful in color the entire time. So glad that they did. I loved the way that it had this like bursting color effect of the 70s just straight in your face, and I just so glad to get this to be a part of my life. I thought it was pretty fantastic. I am interested in checking out more of the show. I honestly thought that I was not going to love this. I usually don't love things that are a little bit silly and tame spy wannabe thrillers or something. But honestly, like the mystery aspect of some of this and the way that it was filmed and the charm from the two leads, it was enough to just make me a fan. I thoroughly enjoyed this, way more than I expected. Unfortunately, this is already out of stock on the Imprint site and probably going to be a little difficult to track down. But the release is stellar, and if you get an opportunity, please check it out. There are 16 Blu-ray discs in this. Overall, strong release. We have a nice, somewhere around like 120-page booklet in this. Unfortunately, it's mostly just information about the episodes themselves, which, to be understandable, I completely get that. But yeah, solid release, tons and tons of extras. If you are an Avengers fan, or if you're somebody that's looking to get into it, this includes not a ton, but like single episodes from the first few series, and it's just a really incredible journey to go through all of this. I strongly recommend, if you are remotely interested, to check this out. So, check out all of those releases from Imprint Films. I wanted this to go out a long time ago, and just other stuff had gotten in the way. On top of that, there's some new stuff from Imprint already to review. This just came in recently. We got The Killer Elite, Fear is the Key, and their first 4K release, The War of the Worlds, with a 4K steelbook and a lenticular hardbox. And you can look forward to that review coming up soon. Thank you all. Have a good night. The overall like post-apocalyptic